because it's only 2 whales and some birds that are being transferred, it's not real rocket science. We want to find a rough placement. I want to find the rough placement that was in the image. I don't know if you can see this from where you are, way up there. This is what we're looking to transfer, these 2 whales and these birds. And, it doesn't have to be exact. In fact, because... but the orientation is really important. This curve is important, so to make sure that we're transferring it. So here's the process. I basically print out this black and white image. This has been reversed, flipped, because it'll be a stamp. Printed out onto these acetate sheets, which is like, ages me a little bit, but, overhead projector sheets. Basically, we're going to be printing out this image onto the acetate sheet, and then using that as a stamp to get the image onto the thing. And the tricky part is, which you'll see, I think I'll do it as time lapse because it takes a bit of time. But this is a fairly large image, 36 inches wide. So this is, that's a good size thing. The acetate sheets are 8.5 by 11, so it's going to take a few of these to make. One image. What's that? Maybe 3 of them. Potentially 3, maybe, we'll see, 3 or 4, and then, some birds. So, there's no registration marks, there's no real guide, other than I saved a little JPEG of my image that I'm kind of trying to, place. So the cool thing is that there's little markers. I can see that, some of this paint stuff is, and that's kind of how I'm going to start. And these print out fairly straight, so I know that if I can keep these aligned-ish to the edge of the panel, that will be fairly straight as we kind of tile across. But if it goes wonky, that's just part of the process. It's sort of, if it goes really wonky, then we just have to start over. But I've done this a few times. I'm a pro, so it's gonna go great. So here's our thing. Reversed image, the background's been blown away, so it's just the stuff we want to transfer. And I'll do the first one while we're talking here, and then I'll just put it in the time lapse. But of course, I love technology. This is the part that, maybe part of why I'm exposing this process is because it's probably on its last legs for me. I think I'm gonna kind of move on from it. But so we only print, so you can see here, I think you can see, hopefully you can see this, how big the whale is. This is our print area, and so we have to kind of go a little bit by bit. So we're going to start here. Somewhere up in here is her nose. You can see the sort of reddish areas here, the blue line that goes through her body, and so little landmarks that we can go by. So let's start with her nose. And we just print in little pieces. Okay, so there's her nose. She's pretty big. She's a big girl. She's the queen. That's size as printed from the thing, printed reverse. So we just have to kind of rough it, I guess. I'm gonna Might be in the way a little bit here for a minute, but getting the first one down is kind of important because everything else will be aligning to it as roughly as we can. What's called that? Try and. That looks about right. Maybe a little bit back. I mean, what we're doing here is transferring what I would call the underpainting. This is giving us the guide. Anything that is printer ink will be painted over anyway. So it's basically like a pencil drawing that we're transferring on. Instead of drawing right on the panel, I'm transferring it on. And again, the idea about the process, what I like about it is, instead of just tracing it like I would normally do, maybe to get a little drawing onto a big, as a mural or on a big piece, a lot of artists would just put a projector up and trace the thing, which is fine. But I love doing this process. It really excites me to to see this thing come together. So this is how it's been working for me lately. And so I guess all we're kind of looking for, I guess what the most important thing is that we're kind of fairly squarish. And then we just rub it on. This is where you can really fuck up your fingernails. Some of these pieces, like 4 by 7 feet, can take 50, 60 of these. There are burnishing tools, but I find using my hands is sort of the best. And you want to basically, I don't know, as a kid, did you ever do those iron-on, those transfer things, those things you use a pencil to like transfer on, basically like kind of iron-on stickers onto a background? This is that. Except we're making our own. I wonder maybe that's also what I like about it. Kind of the nostalgia of that. Anyway, what you want to do is, I've worked hard to get this way all the way. I like her with the charcoal and stuff. And even though she's getting painted over, I want as much of this on here as possible. And there's a lot of little tricky things about this. It looks easy. I make it look easy, right? It looks easy. But you don't want this to frequently things can like blah, blah, blah. The ink really smudges sometimes, gets, if there's big black areas, it just sort of, But you can see how cool the charcoal, with a little charcoal drawing we did that was in a sketchbook, blown up, gives you this really nice texture. And that's kind of what excites me about this process specifically, as opposed to transferring it by tracing it on a projector. It sets me up already for something cool that inspires the next step. But yeah, one of the other tricky things is, of course, we're going on top of a pretty heavy textured paint. It's like, so there's going to be places where the ink just can't sit because there's grooves. And that's also what's cool about this process, what I like about it. I love stencils and stamps and that kind of shit, so the process inspires. So you can see kind of how it's going. It actually looks pretty good. I'm going to actually be there. So there, she's coming. I think And then yeah, really what I do is I reuse these because this is like a mono print, mono stamp, single use, and ideally we're getting as much of the ink on there so there's not a lot of waste, and we reuse these acetates. Me, and all the parts of me are doing this. And all the kids at home. So there you go. There it is. Put it back in the printer to take the next round. And that's it.